Call the order, call the JEDO board to order. If we could start with the call to roll call.
Commissioner Rippon.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Mays.
Here.
Mayor de la Isla. Here. Deputy Mayor Emerson.
Here.
Councilmember Padilla.
Present.
Councilmember Lesser.
Here.
Councilmember Hiller.
Here.
Councilmember Vazquez. Councilmember Ortiz. Councilmember Nager.
Here.
Councilmember Dolan. Councilmember Duncan.
Show that we do have a quorum present for voting purposes. Madam Secretary, if we could start with our first item.
Item 3, action item, approval of December 11th, 2019 JEDO board meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. There's been a motion to approve by Councilmember Lesser, second by Mayor de la Isla. We will do a voice vote on this one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. All right, Madam Secretary, our next item.
Item 4A, presentations, roles of members, and quick meeting norms.
Good evening. Very quickly, Chair Kevin Cook asked me to update the body on the operational rules for the benefit of the new members. I'll be very brief, but before I do that, I want to introduce Tabitha Push, who's here for Megan Barrett. She's taking over her role, and Tabitha does have a connection to our city staff.
I do, so. My mom, Shelby Harville, she works for the City of Topeka Human Resources for benefits managers.
So she does a great job in our office taking over Megan's role. Megan's moved on to the U.S. Attorney's Office, so we congratulate her on that and look forward to Tabitha's service here on JEDO and otherwise in my office. Very quickly, Commissioner Cook asked me to just clarify, we've heard over the years certain questions about the role of the members of JEDO, and we just want to clarify that there are, according to the operational rules, and these are these documents, I've highlighted my specific sections, and I'll be happy to provide a copy to anyone in this body if they'd like a copy. But there are 13 members to JEDO, not just the voting members, but there are 4 members from the City of Topeka, the mayor, the deputy mayor, and 2 designated council members. All 3 commissioners are voting members of JEDO, but the non-voting members are also members of JEDO. This means, pursuant to our rules, which are supplemented by Robert's Rules of Order, that non-voting members can make motions and can second motions, okay? The only time we're going to count the votes are the votes of the voting members on action items. But you're full participants, able to ask questions, involve yourself in debates, and you're important members of this body. So we just wanted to clarify that this evening. Thank you.
Is there anybody that has any questions for our counselor, Mr. Crowell? Okay. Madam Secretary, on to our next item.
Item 4B, Go Topeka 2019 year-end wrap-up.
Good evening. And in that same vein, I'll add to that just a little bit on the orientation side since we haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with each of you yet. Just wanted to let everyone know that Go Topeka operates on under 20% of the countywide half-cent sales tax. There's also road and bridge projects, the zoo, Starmont Vale Event Center that make up that half-cent sales tax as well. And I think you'll see more about that in May when the Finance Committee gives their report. But tonight we're here to talk about Go Topeka. We have some celebrations from 2019, some business expansions to approve, and then we'll take a look at future focus areas as well. I won't steal Glenda and Catherine's thunder, but I do want to give you a little update on some hot projects that we've been spending a lot of time on since the first of the year. We've had 9 new business projects and 3 existing business expansion projects come through since January 1. And just to put that into perspective, we had 24 in 2019 as for the full year. So, and that's new business. And so when you compare that to 9 in the first 40 days of the year. We're ticking along at a pretty good rate. 2 of the new business projects that we're on the short list for are very active and each have over 1,000 new jobs. We hosted a site visit for one this week, have another one next week, and another the week after. So between site visits and proposals, there's not much room for anything in between, but that's good. We're keeping ourselves busy with the things that we need to be doing. We also have a few videos peppered throughout our wrap-up presentation that highlight Washburn Tech East, the quality of place projects from 2019, and innovation and entrepreneurship. So bear with us because I didn't bring popcorn for those videos, but I'll pass it over to Barbara.
Thank you, Molly. Oh, we got through a couple of different things already. So what we wanted to showcase for you for 2019 was all the project announcements that we accomplished last year, and really to kind of give you a flavor of how successful of a year 2019 was, with both a blend of attraction projects that are coming to our community, as well as expansion projects of businesses already in our community. Collectively, as you'll see on the screen, a total of 530 new jobs were added to the community, and over $295 million in investment was made back into our community. That generates a total economic impact of $1,332 million. And I will say that again, $1,332 million over a 10-year period is the economic impact of the projects that we generated this past year for 2019. As I mentioned, it is a blend of both attraction and expansion. You see Walmart, which was our attraction project that was just announced in the fourth quarter of 2019. But throughout the year, we had the Hills Small Pet Colony that added in terms of that part of the animal health corridor that we look at. We had Mars Wrigley make an additional capital investment. Advisors Excel is currently adding both jobs as well as capital investment to the Gage Center. And Bimini Pet Health that we talked about that same time when we announced Walmart. Smaller organization, but that investment of going beyond from being a small business and using the dollars that Glenda has for small businesses and growing 2 years later to be able to qualify for incentive expansion too. And again, being part of the animal health corridor is very exciting. What we want to show you now, as Molly had mentioned, we're kind of peppering these videos throughout, the video for the quality of place testimonials to give you a touch of that.
I'm Thomas Underwood. I'm the Executive Director of the Untitled Arts Entertainment District. About 2 years ago when I started, we were looking at wanting to improve the district, various elements of a capital campaign, including Red Bud Park, and to beautify the district. When the quality of place opportunity came up, I thought it was written for Noto. We applied for it, and it helped subsidize our capital campaign significantly to the extent that we were able to start building Red Bud Park almost right away. So with the funds received from JEDO Quality of Place, we were able to start the park last spring and recently completed this fall. So without the JEDO funds, the park would still be in the planning stages and development stages. We've also used the other JEDO funds to help other aspects of the district, for beautification, for art installments and those kinds of things. So receiving the JEDO funds really gave us a kickstart that we really needed and was very valuable for us in regards to making the progress that we've been able to make in such a short time.
Good morning. My name is Pat Michaelis, and I'm the chairman of the Downtown Topeka Foundation. The foundation is the developer of Evergy Plaza. This is a big deal for Topeka. And the thing I want to mention first, it's truly a public-private partnership. On one hand, JEDO/Go Topeka invested $1.25 million into the project, and then we have Evergy and Cap Fed at $2.5 million each. Both key. I mean, without one, we don't have the other one. And I certainly would be remiss if I didn't mention the Topeka Lodging Association. They have committed transient guest tax dollars and a tourism development fund money to help with, help with and cover a lot of the operating expenses. So quality of life, a vibrant downtown, the downtown plaza, they're just keys to attracting people to move to our community.
Hi, my name is Jeff Carson. I'm the board president for the Jayhawk Theater, and several years ago we were in this gallery space remodeling it, and we set up new bathroom hardware, and we were really feeling pretty good about ourselves. And then the sewer line backed up, and then we looked around for funding for a couple of years and tried to figure out a way to get it done. We got a lot of analysis done to get the problem solved. And it was going to cost some money, and we just didn't have the resources to do that. It's hard to ask private donors to fund something like sewer line replacement. So the JEDO dollars really came in handy. The Quality of Place effort was like music to our ears. It was really designed for that kind of a problem. Our sewer line had been severed out by the street, and so what it required was for us to excavate inside the building here and outside into the street, close down the street. You know, all that costs money. And so having the JEDO dollars was really vital to help us open this room up and make it a real functional room with real indoor plumbing. So we have 2 working bathrooms now. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this project.
I am Dorothy Bryan. I am president of the City Council of Auburn. We found Momentum 22 through Carol Marple, who came to our city council meeting one evening and told us about the projects and the grants that were available. We were trying to put together an idea for a grant. At that time, I had attended a basketball tournament at Highcrest Community Center. And we saw this outdoor fitness equipment. We saw people using it. We were excited about it. So I wrote the grant, submitted it. It was accepted. Thank you. And with it, we put down a slab of concrete next to our civic center, and we mounted 7 pieces of equipment, including handicap pieces for everyone. It has been used constantly, morning to night, early in the morning before the sun comes up. We did install lights on it so people could work out at night. I have had people, my best story, I'll give you a story. The best story is I had an 82-year-old lady who came up to me and told me, she said that this year her kids invited her to go to Branson with them, and because of working out at the fitness park every day, she was able to keep up with her grandkids. It's just such a worthwhile project.
It is a worthwhile project. I'm not sure how to get that to start again, but rather, if that's all right, I think it's available online as well, so we can always get it to you or you can check it out. Now we're going to talk with you and share with you about an exciting thing that we had happen, of course, at the December JEDO meeting. With just a month and a half into our talent relocation initiative, Choose Topeka's reach across the globe has gone way past our projections that we gave you in December. This would not have been possible without your commitment to creative workforce and talent initiatives, without your colleagues who served before you and made a commitment to a pilot round and took a chance on what it could look like, and without your commitment moving forward as elected officials to continue to support leading edge programs. Choose Topeka isn't only the employer matching funds relocation campaign, it's strategic support for our community's human resources and talent recruitment managers as they fulfill the talent pipeline needs of their companies and grow our population strategically too. And I wanted to lead this evening with the campaign in terms of the earned media that we've received. Right there in the middle you'll see, and I know Matt alluded to it in December, of over $1 million. We've been able to calculate that we've received over $4.8 million in earned media since we began this. 34 pieces of coverage total. You can see the top tier news coverage that's listed there, from Forbes magazine to Market Watch and the New York Times, the BBC, Fox News, NPR, CNBC, and Business Insider, just some of those. And there's additional tiers beyond that. We've estimated there's over 5 million coverage views related to these. And we hear on a daily, if not weekly basis, people saying, I read it in Forbes, I heard it on CNN, and we continue to get that. We've had follow-up calls from the interviews that have been conducted related to NPR, and I know that I believe Fox and Friends will be back in the future to be able to talk with those candidates that have applied and the employers have submitted to them. So I wanted to give you that taste of first, and then give you the details related to the relocation update specifically. To date, we've had over 3,000 submissions with resumes or questions. There are people throughout the world that know what we already know too, that Topeka is a great place to live, and those hopeful candidates want to live here too. Multiple employers have initiated the process to submit candidates via emails and calls. And I know on here I told you 7, but we're now up to 10 candidates that have been submitted by employers and committing $67,500 in matching JEDO funds. The Topeka and Shawnee County businesses are able to submit those candidates in consideration of the program directly to the Choose Topeka at topekapartnership.com, the choosetopeka.com website. There's an employer candidate submission for that. I will stand for any questions. I tried to share a lot with you in a short period of time to keep the meeting moving forward, but I don't want to dismiss your interest or questions that you might have.
Just a couple of questions, Barbara. As far as the Walmart, do you know what the scope of that project is as far as the state of Kansas for economic development? I would assume that it falls close to the top for economic development, but do we know where it ranks in the state of Kansas?
Second.
Okay. So out of the entire state of Kansas for the year of 2019, our Walmart economic development was second for economic development for the year.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That's great. And as far as the quality of place, have all the projects been completed, so everything has been completed for those 4 projects?
Yes. Yes, they have.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Molly or for Barbara?
Just a quick one, and it might be too much detail, thank you. I need a keeper. I'm an actor. Thank you. I was just wondering about the submissions for employment. Just generally, is there a particular profession or area that it's covering, or that we're focusing on, or that it seems to be shaking out on?
There is not. There's a blend. We have candidates in the healthcare industry. We have candidates in the legal profession. We have candidates in manufacturing and warehouse distribution, in small business franchise. We have a mix all across the markets. So it's been very nice to see that employers are very interested from all of our industries in terms of how it can help support them as they grow their pipeline.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Barbara? Councilmember Gillard?
Thank you. Actually, that spurred a question for me, and this is not intended to be critical at all. Is the Choose Topeka incentive getting activated only in companies and at the level of position that normally would have offered a relocation allowance? Or is it creating new ones? Any answer is okay, I just wondered.
I would say no, because we're seeing a range. When we calculated the economic impact, we did it based upon a position that would make $60,000 a year. We knew that employers may balance that. We have seen anywhere from a $45,000 salaried position to a $120,000 position with those applications. And so my answer would be no. I think it's helping employers with positions that, while they may be critical, hard to fill positions, they might not necessarily have historically had a relocation package that was a part of them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilwoman Belvedere Alcoa?
Thank you. Can you tell me, because I know I saw it somewhere, how much the pay is going to be for Walmart distribution, the base pay?
I think that was still under discussion.
So in their contract, it lists $34,000, but that wage study was done a couple years ago, and it'll be a couple more years before they're under construction and hiring people. So they'll revise that, and their conservative number is $34,000.
Okay, but it'll go up some.
It'll go up, and when we go in to check on the performance of their jobs and investment, we'll see what that average wage is. So we can talk to them and see if we can report that back to you so you can see how it's changed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Yep. Up
And
next.
another video.
Yep, right.
See how it starts.
Facilities make a difference. Facility is a symbol then of what the commitment really is.
It is a true transformation of this building, and to be able to take something that had such a wonderful history in the community and be able to turn it into something that was going to affect lives in the future is very exciting.
Go Topeka was kind of the driving force behind this because they were looking for economic development. Economic development means companies come into town. Companies come into town need people to go to work. Washburn Tech graduates 700-800 students a year, and they're all looking for jobs. They want a job. They can get the skill here to get that job. But then, how do you look at this rubble that was here and see what's here now? That doesn't just happen. You have to have some way that you can make that happen, and that's what JEDO and Go Topeka did.
We wanted to make sure that it said, we want you to come here, and we want you to come and be your best self, and we're going to help you realize that.
I think for a lot of individuals, seeing is believing in this part of town. And so now individuals can see this building, they can see the programs, they can see students. And I think that's going to begin to change not only just minds, but hearts of individuals about East Topeka and about the fact that things are moving in the right direction.
We knew it was really important that we involved the people that we were trying to serve, and we knew that we had to bring all those voices to the table. We had community members, we had pastors of the churches in the community, we had business leaders who helped us formulate how to be most successful when we built this new Washburn Tech East.
This is a great day for East Topeka. And any day that is great for East Topeka is great for Topeka.
Because economic prosperity for all is what we're all striving for, because we understand that when East Topeka is doing good, the rest of our community is doing good.
We need the entire community to be a part of this. They are now our recruiters. They know the people who could take advantage of this and bring those students to Washburn Tech East, and will then transform their life.
And at the root of it is we know people need to have jobs, and we know that employers need qualified workers. And without all of us working together, we wouldn't be able to improve our workforce and create the best foundation for a solid economy for the future of Topeka.
The success that we will have is based upon somebody else's success. It's based on those students' successes. It's not that we do a great job, which we do, but it is what happens to that student when they finish the program that they enroll in.
We stayed true to our vision for making this come to life, and it is all about becoming your best self. Washburn talks a lot about that, and we are very committed to making that happen.
When we find out how well we have done over the years into the future, will be because people change their lives at this institution.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to show that. When East Topeka is doing well, all of Topeka is doing well. And we heard it at the city council meeting just the other night that Hillcrest is making all those adjustments, and it'll be almost a new community center just adjacent to this property too. So thank you.
Barbara, just as a follow-up to the Washburn Tech East, have all the accountings been followed up? Everything's complete as far as the Washburn Tech East project?
Everything's complete. We will continue to do our reporting that we need to do for the tax credits, but Betty and I were just talking about that before the meeting, and so yes, everything is complete on that end.
Okay, so if we were to put a check mark, we can check mark it being done.
You can.
All right.
Capped with a beautiful video.
Are there any questions anybody might have for Barbara regarding Washburn Tech East? Councilwoman Hiller?
This is not a question, but a comment. I know that this about buried you when it got rolling, so thank you. Glad you survived. Glad it's done for all of us, but good work.
Thank you. And actually, special thanks to Councilor Crowell, too. He helped immensely during this process. So, and to be back on for it to be complete.
It's an honor and a privilege to serve in this position, and I appreciate the thanks, but there were so many people who made that happen. So thank you, but we've got to acknowledge everybody who pushed for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, I'm excited because I won't go through all of these in detail because I know you guys ready to go home. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about my last year, and then I'll go into this. So last year, we were very, very aggressive in making sure that we created sort of sustainable energy around small business. And so we did some things a little bit different, and this year we will too. We actually grew our small business base. We looked at what was going on in the community, and we looked at how we could make an impact. So we went and entered into a relationship with the Housing Authority. We thought, okay, what better way to bring people to help people rise up, to help them get to the next level. And so we, through our fast track program, we decided that what we wanted to do was to identify some individuals in housing, some residents in housing, and assist them to becoming small business. They'd been on that track for a long time. They wanted to. They'd gone through the training, but they didn't know how they would get to the next step. And so I met with Trey, and Trey said, yeah, we can do that. Let us go ahead and figure something out. He said, you provide half and I provide half, and we'll meet in the middle, and we'll build sort of a model for public housing residents so that they can know that there's a future beyond where they are. They can get involved or help build businesses in that community. And so what we did was we are in the point of collaborating. We had a stage 2 in this process. It was a 3-stage process. One was initial training. The second is a second phase of training plus mentoring. We're doing some high-level education. We're looking for internships for them, a whole bunch of things that they generally wouldn't do, because when we open the doors to their businesses, we want them to be successful. Too many times we do surface training and the person really doesn't have what he or she needs to be a business owner. And so this, we think, is going to sort of be the magic to it all. And so we're working with them. We visited the site the other day to take a look at. So Trey has given us the site for the incubator. It's the old aquaponics center, as I told you at the last meeting. But better than that, he's given us an architect that could design the areas where the businesses are going to be. And and they are so excited. They have looked at their drawings. They have sort of embraced it. Now we're working on a strong, solid business plan so they can move forward. And so what you'll see in the next coming months is you'll see 4 to 5 businesses come online that generally wouldn't have had the opportunity to come online. And you'll see us continuing to give them aid, because you just don't throw them out there to the wolves. You hold their hands and you walk them through processes. We have a systems coach, we have a business coach, and we'll have a mentor, and we'll have other safety nets for these individuals. They're so excited about opening the doors. I hope that when we do the ribbon cutting that you all can join us. We've seen an increase in small business appointments like we do at the beginning of every year, but it's a little different this time. People are saying, okay, I've done all the homework and I want to open my business. They're not starting from scratch. They've done research. They've kind of looked at where they are now and looked at a little bit about, how I'm going to get funded. And so we're working on that with a lot of businesses. We had a small business focus group so that we could actually hear the voices of the small business community. And they're telling us what they want. And we're, strangely enough, we've already thought through some of the things that they were thinking about. And so I think you'll see a different model we'll introduce to you a little bit later on. An increase in loan applications or inquiries. So we've had a number of inquiries regarding loans now. Last year we did $100,000 in loan. This year, we think it's going to be more than that. These people that I'm talking to, they're capable. They're very capable of getting a $100,000 loan. They're capable of starting their own business. What we're going to do at the end of spring quarter is we're going to do what we call a collaborative press conference, where we bring together small businesses that have gone through our programs, mine and Karen's programs, Catherine's programs, small business programs, Carl's programs, and we're going to introduce them to the community because they are starting every day, you all. They are creating jobs every day, and we're not celebrating them as we should. So this will be an opportunity for us to do a press conference and show the community the jobs that they are creating, the impact that they're making on the community, and how sustainable their business is. And Barbara just said, if East Topeka isn't, whole, none of us are whole. So the East Topeka Council is aggressively working on projects and programs that they can put forth to help grow East Topeka. We are looking at every opportunity for a grant out there. So you'll see some things that we do a little different in East Topeka Council as well. We're aggressively moving forward with making a difference in the community. We're working on 3 special projects, and I'll name those projects for you at the next meeting because they will be up and running at that time. But we're working on 3 special projects, and then our new incentive program. I told you a little bit about that last year, but I want to kind of share with you what we're doing. We've looked at the incentives, and we know that they make an impact. Have some numbers here, and I only take about 3 or 4 more minutes, but I have some numbers here. In 2019, we issued 109 incentives. Overall, in the 5 years that we've had this program, we've issued 351 incentives. Now that's an impact. We look at jobs that it impacted. So some of these incentives are buying new machinery. They're helping with equipment that generally wouldn't have. They're creating a new part of a business. So we looked at that, and I wanted to look at the impact. So we've impacted 553 through the life of the program, 553 full-time jobs and 520 part-time jobs. And this is just a program that we thought, oh, maybe we'd do it once. But once was not enough. And so what we looked at again, the second stage was, how can we, because when we heard from the business, again, I always ask for the voice of the business to be heard. When we heard from the business, they said, this is good, but let's look at the incentives a little bit closer. So Molly established an incentive committee, and they looked at the big incentives, and they looked at our small business incentives. And they said, let us see what we can do to move this a little bit further. Because if we're impacting businesses the way we are, we might need to increase these incentives. And so we looked at it as well, and we increased the incentives. The equipment purchase went up from $5,000 to $7,500. Construction went up from $5,000 to $7,500, and marketing went up from $1,000 to $1,500. We added a new, because what we heard from, once they got over to development services, there was a need there. And so we added a new incentive called the Architect and Design Incentive. So that when they go to development service, we know that $1,000 isn't much, but it takes them to the next level. It helps them just a little bit. And so we have introduced this Architect and Design Incentive. We also heard that there was a gap between the services that we were providing for the micro business and the second stage business. So what you see here on the right is a list of incentives that we were providing for the second stage business. Second stage businesses have 10 to 100 employees. You know they're on the growth. And we weren't providing them. They were too big for us and too small for Molly. So what that means is they drop in a hole somewhere. And so this gives us the opportunity to take them out of hole. So I just wanted to introduce that to you all as well. And any questions?
Any questions for Glenda?
And guess what? You have a question? I'm sorry.
Do we track the businesses after?
Yes.
For instance, at the 1-year point and the 5-year point, let's say?
We do. We actually have the first business that we ever provided an incentive. But we track them because we want to know if they're creating jobs, so that we can.
I'd like to see those at some point, creating and sustaining.
Sure, that's not a problem at all. But we do, we do create matrices that will let you know if a business is growing, if they've increased employees, those kinds of things. So.
I just want to know if we're sustaining, because it's one thing to get something started,
Well,
it's another thing for them to.
Pardon me, go ahead.
No.
I can tell you that the ones that have gone through this program, and we look at how many, we lose very few to attrition. They are still in business, and I'll let you see that list.
That's great.
I'll let you see that list.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lester, then Councilwoman Halper.
One business that I know received assistance in my district was the Via's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Tell
That
me.
went out of business.
Yeah, can you tell me what I haven't heard that it's out of business.
It is out of business.
It is, they are
Yes,
shut down.
Wouldn't it be that you'd know that?
Yeah.
I wanted a pizza.
They make good pizza.
They had good pizza.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Valverdina Alcala.
Thank you. I have a question. When we're talking about small minority-owned businesses, and I'm thinking the number of Latino businesses there's a number in Oakland and obviously on East 6th Street. But is your approach or the approach outreach or waiting for them to come
We
to
do
you?
all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, we actually, so many people just walk in the door. We do outreach. There are some that I have helped on 6th, but not all. I've tried to help 2 or 3 on 6th Street, so.
Do you find that you have a lot of calls from the Spanish-speaking community?
Now it's opened up a little bit. But there was I guess, trust was.
Yeah.
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 And we had to establish trust. And so we actually have people referring those businesses to us now. But they're not all from 6th Street.
Right.
So they're across the community.
So I'm just using it as an example. There is a business in Oakland that is a panaderia, a bakery, and so there has been some equipment issues he's had with his ovens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that if he would reach out to find more information that he might he's been there for like 6 years, and he's probably a two-man show.
Yeah, we can speak with him about that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
About the loan fund and about the incentive fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the referral, I appreciate that.
Got it.
We have, I'm sorry.
If I may speak, Councilwoman Hilder's Valdivia Alcala. Inquiry, yeah. Following up on that, I've been working with Glenda, and she has hosted a couple of these, they call minority small business mixers at a KTWU, and I can say from attending them, there has been a really concerted effort to try and reach out to those business owners, Spanish-speaking as well. And from the first to the last that we've had, we've seen an increased number of Hispanic small business owners attend those. And I think that will continue to grow because the word is getting out. And those that do attend, they're very active in networking while they're there. They're passing out business cards, and they're making those connections that need to happen in order for those businesses to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So now Glenda's done a good job at bringing that group together, and Eugene has been an excellent host out there at KTWU. When that next one comes up, I encourage all of you to come out because you would enjoy meeting these business owners.
When that next one comes up, we'll probably have to knock down a wall out at KTW.
So about how many?
Gosh, we had about 120 people come through that door that night, and from, from the first one, that was probably double what we had. They were coming and going. They were interacting. It was really a good night.
Cool, thank you.
Great. As always, if anybody has any follow-up questions, you're always free to contact the Go Topeka staff, and the reports that we see are also online as well as available from the staff members.
So, as I said, this is the last video for the night.
All right.
So I'm gonna push the button. Is it working? There we go.
Topeka's going through a renaissance right now. It's a great place to build something, and it's just an exciting and unique time.
Topeka has a very vibrant community of entrepreneurs. We are very connected, we're very collaborative, we have very engaged corporate partners. We thrive on diversity and inclusion.
Topeka is a wonderful place to start a business because a lot of the resources that we have that make it super easy. Easy for you to plug and play, learn exactly what to do, get the resources, get hooked up with a little extra financial boost.
We have opportunity to access funding, both on the loan side and on grant and incentive side. We have a small business incentive program, and we're working on a number of new programs that address the needs of our entrepreneurs and growing companies in Topeka.
You know, I think a couple of the most important things that Topeka brings to an entrepreneur is, first and foremost, the people. If I go to another huge value that Topeka brings is, frankly, it's not as expensive to build a business. You can put your money back into growth of your business. You're not putting it into expensive rents and taxes and all those things. You're putting it really back into your business.
We're growing. We're going to have a new Downtown Innovation Center very soon that will be the home for our entrepreneurs, for our startups and innovators. We're also building regional connections and relationships with organizations that will help Topeka grow. We are building our programming. We're going to have a new accelerator program that we will start soon. We will have incubator programs. And we're laying the groundwork for that complete support system for the entrepreneur and startup. I'm happy to say there's more exciting things to come.
The time is now, the tools are here, and we want you to come to Topeka.
Video and wraps up our 2019 year in review. As you can see, we've had a successful 2019 and we are accelerating full force into 2020. One of the things I wanted to share with you as we talk about business retention and expansion is how we serve as a liaison and a primary resource for existing businesses in the community, making sure we meet the needs of major employers and the needs of future plans of local organizations within the community so they can continue to grow and expand. Within the last month alone, we've had 3 new BRE projects come in, and capital investment of all 3 of those projects totals $42.4 million, which includes facilities improvement expenditures and equipment purchases, along with an addition of 275 new full-time jobs. Rhiannon has the first project that she'll share with you this evening, but I wanted to give you that measure of what these 3 business retention and expansion projects do, as they're similar to or equivalent to an attraction project, one attraction project. So to see what our local businesses are doing and how they're investing back into the community too. Rhiannon?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm very excited to present my first business expansion project. So just as a little reminder, I do want to let everybody know that all of the projects that we're presenting this evening, all 3 of them, they all follow the incentive guideline documentation that's been previously approved. And they're also all performance-based in structure as well. So the first project tonight is Project Bond, which is a manufacturing company. Bond is looking to increase their capacity by investing in new equipment. This investment in equipment will allow for them to increase their production, which is going to, therefore, will also increase their employment numbers. So the 5-year projections for Project Bond include the creation of up to 75 new jobs, $5 million in capital investment, average wage of $45,000, and a 10-year economic impact of $208 million. We'll also see a 92% return on investment with this project. So Tonight, we're seeking approval for the funding of an incentive for this project totaling $422,500. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
For the sake of formality, this is item 5A. So for those of you that are following along in person and at home, any questions regarding item 5A, the funding for Project Bond?
I will make a motion.
There's a motion made by the mayor. Your motion is to approve? Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Emerson. If we could have a roll call vote for the approval for Project Bond.
Commissioner Rippon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Mayor De La Isla?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Emerson?
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes. Great. Now, our next item would be
Item 5B, action item, approval of funding for Project Prince.
Good evening. One thing I will mention to you for new members, just so you're aware, all of the three that we are presenting for this evening, the two that Rhiannon has and the one that I'll present now, are all early in the incentive project process. So you see them under the code name. They'll remain under the code name this evening if we receive funding approval for all of them. And then we will develop the agreement and we'll present that at a later JEDO meeting. If there's questions related to that, I'm happy to answer them. But I can also go ahead and present Project Prince if you're ready for that.
any questions before the presentation of Project Prince? Okay.
Thank you. So for Project Prince, it's a $31.4 million capital investment through facility improvement expenditures as well as equipment purchases, along with an expected addition of up to 33 new full-time jobs, all with an average salary of $56,000 plus benefits. We're proposing up to $6,500 per new job in performance-based cash incentives. The job incentives will be paid out in equal installments annually over 5 years and will not exceed $214,500 in aggregate. Training incentives are also provided to further educate and support our existing workforce and to better prepare them for their current as well as potential future jobs. A training incentive in the amount of $1,000 per new employee will also be offered as part of the package for a total requested incentive of $341,000. All of these proposed incentives are performance-based, to be paid out as earned, and details of the agreement will be outlined in a formal contract with the company at a future meeting, JEDO meeting. The economic impact of this investment over 10 years is $495 million with an ROI of 504% and a payback period of less than 1 year.
Any questions for Barbara regarding Project Prince? Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lesser? Was it Rippon? Commissioner Rippon. Sorry, I couldn't quite hear. Are there any questions or comments, discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Rippon?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Mays?
Yes.
Mayor De La Isla?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Emerson?
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla?
Yes.
Councilmember Lesser?
Yes.
Show that that passes. Our next item.
Okay, item 5C, action item, approval of funding for Project Spark.
All right. So our last project for the evening is Project Spark. Project Spark is also a manufacturing company. They've recently increased their sales force to help drive new business, and this has been extremely successful for them. So they're also looking at expanding some with equipment expansion and then adding some additional employees. So their 5-year projections are set at 167 new jobs with $6 million in capital investment for some of that new equipment purchases, and then an average wage of $40,000 a year. Right now, they're looking at a 10-year economic impact of $400 million with a 68% ROI. So altogether, we're seeking approval for the funding for an incentive totaling $847,000 for Project Spark.
Questions? Seeing none, is a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Councilmember Padilla. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor De La Isla. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Rippon,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Mays,
Yes.
Mayor De La Isla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Emerson,
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla, Councilmember Lesser.
Yes.
Show that it passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item 6, discussion asset strategy.
This was an item that I asked Molly to present on, and talking with Molly, I've communicated that I would like to see us, rather than on the fly having a discussion of an item, but allowing, if there's a discussion with the board, the JEDO board, of a specific topic or subject that allows the Go-Topeka staff to be able to help put that together in the future for a presentation in May. For example, with all of the economic development that we've had over the last year, we are looking at having issues with housing, which is taken up by the City Council at the last meeting, also with workforce development. So looking at, rather than just as the chair picking a topic, I wanted us to have a bit of a discussion and maybe a presentation from Molly as to what she thought they would be reasonably able to make a presentation at our next JEDO meeting, which would be May. And then also talking about our asset strategy with the completion of the our available land space, looking at kind of what we're looking at in the future. So Molly, I'll turn it over to you first.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, so as Commissioner Cook noted, in the past, one of our major assets that we have touted was the availability to offer shovel-ready land of large sized tracts. With the successes that we've seen recently, that's not the case anymore, but that's okay. We have new initiatives on the horizon. Business attraction, business retention and expansion, small business development, and workforce development are all table stakes that we don't plan to abandon. But let's touch on some of the newest additions to our strategy to illustrate the dynamism of our plans to grow Topeka and Shawnee County. I apologize if you can't tell, I've got Sudafed brain right now, so I'm reading. Okay. So a little bit of background too, since we have some new board members. In 2019, the Go Topeka board spent a lot of time in a series of retreats. We decided to take more of a rifle approach than a shotgun approach, like we may have used in the past. I'll read you our revised mission statement that came out of those retreats, and then we'll touch on some key focus areas. So the fresh and brand new mission statement of Go Topeka is, Go Topeka creates countywide economic success for all companies and citizens through implementation of an aggressive economic development strategy that capitalizes on the unique strengths of our community. So from those retreats, we narrowed in on characteristics of companies that we plan to proactively and aggressively pursue. We also identified that our location in the animal health corridor is an untapped opportunity. Growth and entrepreneurship remains a focus, but we've sort of put that focus in a bold font, as Katrin will allude to later in the presentation. Some of the things that you've seen presented tonight show that we are focusing more on entrepreneurship, innovation, and small business development as well. The board also agreed not to recommend acquiring any more land for industrial use at this time. However, we do have physical asset needs that we're focusing on heavier in 2020. We need to focus more on promoting and marketing our airport as a business location. We've already begun that with a prospect who has come to visit, let's see, next week it'll be their 4th time in the market. So we're on the short list for a company that is taking notice of our airport, and that came through the media coverage that we received with Choose Topeka. They really didn't have Topeka on their radar, and then received a phone call over the holidays that they had seen Topeka in the media and wanted to know what's going on here, and thought if we were being aggressive with our talent attraction that we would be a great place to do business. Let's see here, sorry. Okay, so another area of focus we're looking at is redevelopment. This is everything from how to better arm our community with retail data to the possibility of incentivizing investment in underutilized property. That's not all though. I'll let Katrin talk to you a little bit more about innovation and entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much, Molly. Good evening. Going to go one further. Okay. So as we discussed in previous meetings, we're gearing up for the start of our Plug and Play Accelerator program. Let me give you a short summary of the opportunity. Plug and Play is an innovation platform that specializes in matching innovative startups with corporations that can use their innovative products and services to be more competitive in the marketplace and to create more value for their shareholders. We announced the partnership back in 2019, and since then have spent time to acquire and recruit corporate partners that will be the founding members of the program. I'm excited to announce today that we will have our kickoff event with Plug and Play in early March. And we're getting ready for our first cohort of 8 to 12 startups that are going to be here for 3 months in the next few months. The opportunity lies not only in the attraction of these startups to Shawnee County, but also in creating more economic activity for our local businesses. It also brings the opportunity to attract top talent to our city and county. And we're building a reputation of being a haven for entrepreneurs and for innovators. To give you an idea, and some of you know this already, but I'm going to just give a short summary again. In terms of numbers, so for each of these cohorts, we're starting with 500 startups that are being reviewed for a match for those corporate partners. Then 100 of them get presented to those founding members. 20 to 30 get selected to present on selection day, and 8 to 12 get selected to be eventually in that accelerator program that lasts for 3 months. And that is in a cycle of every 6 months. So we will have a total of between 16 and 24 startups a year that we have the opportunity to be in front of for 3 months at a time and introduce them to everything that Topeka has to offer. So our focus now is to translate this opportunity into economic impact. And we can only do that if we have the infrastructure and the support system in Topeka available that we can offer. So what does it take? We have studied best practices with many communities and have had countless conversations with ecosystem builders throughout the nation. So it comes down to 4 things: space, programming, access to funding, and integration. In terms of space, and Molly alluded to this, we are working on getting a downtown innovation center online. We've been working on this for a few months. We have now 3 locations that we have under closer consideration. And this will be the home for the Plug and Play program initially, but it will also house initiatives like the Wheelhouse Incubator that is offered to our local entrepreneurs, and that has been taking off. You may have heard about that. And it also will be the center where resources and services that entrepreneurs and innovators need will be available. Number 2 is the Innovation Campus, and as a reminder, we don't have a lot of wet lab space in Topeka, so if we're attracting startups in the animal health and ag-tech biosciences sector through Plug and Play, then we need to be able to offer them a viable place of business. So we are currently having 4 different options under consideration for that innovation campus, and we're conducting a viability assessment for the lead candidates for that. So that's in the works as well. Access to funding, as you know, venture capital is important. Of course, Plug and Play themselves are a venture capital fund. It's the most active venture capital fund in Silicon Valley. So it's great to have that access to that funding source here in in Topeka and the entire region. But there are other venture capital and seed funds that are working with us in the region, in Kansas City and Manhattan. We're building relationships with Wichita and Lawrence as well. So we can actually connect our entrepreneurs with those resources and in turn put good opportunities in front of those investors, which is important. And finally, integration. And I cannot stress this enough. It is important to connect those startups and those and integrate them. And that's for new startups that come to town and also our startups that we have here that are homegrown. So we need to introduce them to the assets that we have in the animal health corridor. We need to provide them with links to our local resources and also to our community to embed them personally so they can feel home. And Topeka and Shawnee County is a great place to live, to work, and to do business, and we'll show that to those that come here and give us a chance. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
So, Catherine, if I understand correctly, where we're at in the pipeline right now is we're really working more on the space side and development of the innovation campus, and we would look to maybe having more information on that in the future. Is that accurate?
That's correct,
okay.
Yes.
And then once we are able to develop that innovation campus, then we would move into the programming and watching those startups come to fruition?
Not exactly. We have to develop everything at the same time.
Okay.
Right? So the package that we would want to put in front of those startups that come here, and keep in mind, Selection Day is going to happen here, so there's going to be 20 startups here, even those that don't get selected to be in the incubator, in the accelerator program, sorry. We could potentially put an offer in front of them as well if there's a good match, if they come from the animal health and ag tech sector. But that means we need to have program in place. So two things. Either we have additional programming here, or we can also refer them to our regional partners that have other accelerator programs and establish those relationships so we can, pass leads back and forth.
When we're talking about the selection day for Topeka, would we be looking at local startups, regional startups, international startups? What is it we should be anticipating?
That's a very good question. Thank you. So there is no restriction on where they come from. So it could be local startups, it could be regional, or it could be global.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Catherine? Okay.
Thank you.
So, Molly, I'm going to kind of pull you up for just a second. For tonight's meeting and the discussion of asset strategy, are we looking at, in the past, we've been really focused in on that, having shovel-ready land, and now with us looking at the partnerships that we have here and the plug-and-play, is the Go Topeka looking at maybe kind of having more of a mixed approach, continuing to kind of shift more towards having the plug-and-play available for us?
Yeah, so I think the plug and play and the whole innovation entrepreneurship realm is a major focus for us. And when it comes to the bigger box kind of attraction projects, we're not going to be able to compete for some of the Walmarts and stuff like that in the future just because the land is not there. But I think the timing is right to make that pivot anyway. We need to further diversify and focus on the other assets that we have in financial services and professional services, and then the ag tech and animal health. So if you were to look at and kind of list off target industries like we've talked about in the past, those would probably be the ones that we'd be focusing on.
But by no means, this doesn't mean that we're ending or abandoning those, but we are opening ourselves up to newer areas.
Yeah, I mean, you have to focus on something. Like I mentioned with the target or the shotgun versus the rifle, we're not just going to be, throwing a dart at anything that it hits. We need to focus on something so that we can target our message.
Is there any discussion from the members of the body regarding our asset strategy? Councilmember Dunn.
question, and I have no idea who this is directed at, especially being my first meeting, but while I understand we're not actively looking to acquire property, do we maintain, I guess for lack of a list of places in the kind of, if they went on for sale, we would at least, hey, let's talk about it because maybe they're adjacent, or if somebody came in and said, I need a huge plot of land, we kind of know where those might be available?
So we have a database on our website that's not exhaustive, but we try to make it that way. We reach out to the brokers and landowners that have large parcels that are near assets like utilities and rail and things like that. And we've always marketed those sites, and we've always offered the same benefits to a user if they were to choose a private owner's site versus a site at the Commerce Park. And so now that there's not much land of any size at the Commerce Parks, we'll be, hand in hand with those other users, making sure that we're helping them in any way that we can. But yeah, we put out other people's land all the time in front of prospects.
Other questions regarding asset strategy? Councilmember Hiller.
And Chair, you correct me if I'm wrong, you reached out to me beforehand and said you were going to bring this up.
Right.
And so I tried to be prepared. My understanding was that you also were interested in talking about, as you mentioned earlier, the more, you could argue that it's in the rifle shot, or you could argue that it's contextual, but the issue of attracting and keeping, attracting those workers and having them live here, and housing and those sorts of things, and that you were interested in perhaps some topics that could be explored maybe one at a time by this body in terms of whether we were addressing those as well?
Correct. That's what I had hoped maybe to set as a precedent for us moving forward is at the end of each JEDO meeting, having a topic selected for the next JEDO meeting. That would give Topeka staff time to prepare. They would have a couple months to put together a presentation rather than trying to answer questions on the fly. And that way it's complete and it's comprehensive. So for example, for the May meeting, if we wanted to have a presentation on housing initiatives and workforce development and how Going Topeka is going to be filling all of these jobs that we now have created, what their strategy might be. But that's not by all means just because that's a proposal, that doesn't mean that's the one we should pick. Councilwoman Hiller, if you have a topic that you would like to maybe have presented or have some consideration for.
And I, with that encouragement, I brought a few, understanding that people might want to pick and choose. One is, and we've talked about this in the retreats, we've talked about it otherwise in the community, and you also indicated that the Greater Topeka Partnership might link in if there were ways that Go Topeka was also linking in with even the city, but also GTP. Certainly diversity, inclusion, and opportunity. What is happening in this community? We know that it's important to the companies, and we know that it's important to the workers. So perhaps a focus session on just what's bubbling, what we need, and so on, just those strategies. A second, and Molly touched on it earlier, just a focus on redevelopment professionals, redevelopment expertise. What do we have? What do we need? I mean, DTI, for instance, was very bold in taking on the responsibility for the new downtown TIF. That's a huge area with a number of sub-areas. That's a redevelopment responsibility, not just a marketing one. We built into the interlocal this time the fact that we had neighborhood retail and neighborhood redevelopment that we really wanted to work on. So that redevelopment topic could be one in and of itself. Third, infill and neighborhood-based housing incentives or opportunities. We set on the city side, we've set a goal of infill with our land use planning. Correspondingly, with the Choose Topeka program, the discussion was this is just a first-time shot to see how it goes. We want to see that and then see what we can follow up. Certainly, a lot of those inquiries were somebody who said, I just want to move here and get a job. Is there something for me? Are there some things that we could find from other communities or develop that would meet that dual objective of attracting people to infill either rehab or reconstruction in our neighborhoods, as well as want to live in Topeka? The fourth would be just a workforce opportunity network system for our local residents. And in fact, Barbara, we've been working on that, and it got kind of hung up in the website development and then redevelopment for the partnership, but discussing what that vision was and where we are in terms of making sure that people who live here, who either have maybe aged out of a network, are needing to restart a career or are wanting to start on that ladder somewhere along the way and get those good jobs, which has been a priority for a lot of people here. What do we have, exactly what's there, could be a focus for a meeting as well. And last, the exploration of heritage tourism as an economic development driver with all the potentials of how that would fit in all the pieces that we've talked about. But it, in and of itself, bringing people here, developing tourism, bringing people here before and after events, just to come and visit. We are part of the we're the northwest terminus of the U.S. Civil Rights Trail. We are a key part of a serial nomination nationally to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are lots of opportunities sitting right there, like there are with these big businesses to come in, and even down to the fact that there is no one, as far as I know, in at least a 300-mile radius, maybe 500, where somebody can get trained in tourism. We've got Washburn Techies, we've got space to develop training programs as well. And so that whole heritage, that's who we are. We've always been looking for our hook to what makes Topeka different. And Brown v. Board and our Civil War to Civil Rights heritage really is who we are. Are there some things we could be doing to develop that? So I wanted to put those forward. And I also wanted to suggest, since you opened up this opportunity, that over the years of serving on JEDO, something that I've realized is that, from the city side, most of us never ever get to serve on the Go Topeka board because there are 10 of us and we rotate. You county commissioners all get to do that at least once. There have periodically been times when Go Topeka brought in a speaker on a certain subject and invited the JEDO board and the Go Topeka board to come together for an opportunity to learn and exchange. And I found them incredibly rich. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to encourage that if there was a subject that people wanted to learn more about, that might be a way to do it.
That's actually something that Molly and I discussed yesterday over lunch. It's
Good.
Addressing that topic in a less formal setting, and so more of a work group session. So, Councilwoman Hiller has suggested 5 different topics. Again, I'm opening it up to the board as a whole. The whole board is members of JEDO. Is there a topic that you would like to see presented on at the next JEDO meeting in May? Something that you think the public or you would like to know more about? Councilwoman.
Chair, can you list Karen's 5 points again?
In diversity, redevelopment initiative, infill in housing, workforce development, and heritage tourism.
I feel like the infill housing is something that we've been talking a lot about with City Council and would be a great partnership between the JEDO and kind of those city initiatives and making sure that we have that housing for hopefully all the new jobs we're bringing into Topeka. So, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Valvadina Alba.
Thank you. I don't know how to, this may be kind of awkward as I'm trying to flesh this out, but I sent something to Matt some time ago about 39 eco-friendly small business ideas for green entrepreneurs. What can we do to start driving that dialogue on how we can grow young, or maybe not so young, entrepreneurs in green business in Topeka? That would be my suggestion.
All right, so now we have a 6th topic, potentially. Okay. Are there any other topics that people would have? Commissioner Mays.
So I think that the infill housing interests me, but I also think that we have a need for infill commercial properties as well. And so I'd like to maybe see some information about anything that's being done to try and rehabilitate some of our dilapidated commercial properties.
I would say that fits under the redevelopment one.
So Molly, I'm going to, Councilmember Lester.
Thank you. Not necessarily the next me, but one thing that I would like to start seeing is included, maybe possibly in the report, is an update on some of the projects that we've approved. You know, we approved project, you know, XYZ, you know, a year ago. Where are they at now? We budgeted that they're going to add 75 jobs. Where, you know, I think that would be nice to be able to see that information and be helpful at some point in time.
I think that's great. I think that would be a great addition to the, again, I'm
Oh,
kind of
that's a
open
great
this
idea.
up at the end. We're at the end of the meeting.
Great
This is, again, a discussion on what the JEDO board would like to see us as a direction over the next year try and take. Again, having a discussion about an open topic for presentation as a work session, having presentations on past projects and what they've enabled us to do. Any other topics?
Well, just to follow up, and I ask that because I see that, you know, as no different than my bit, I see it as a motivating factor. You know, it's, hey, here's a success, you know, here's something we high five about, that we did this, it's working, here's what the numbers are, you know, because these projects that we have here are all conceptual, you know, we hope they do, and we think that they will, but I think it's really cool to, I mean, that's where you celebrate your successes.
So knowing that it would be impossible and we would be here for a very, very long time if we tried to take on all 6 topics in one meeting, if I could, again, just taking the temperature of the group as a whole, would the infill and the housing and the, Molly, would that align with maybe workforce in those 2 areas? Is that too much, or is infill housing and commercial? What do you believe the staff would be
I don't
able
know,
to?
you're catching me on the spot a little bit. I mean, there's some overlap there,
Okay.
but there's definitely pieces of each of those topics that are standalone too, so.
Okay. So, Mayor Delisla.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to make a suggestion. There's a lot that has been presented for the team. Maybe a doodle poll in which the council, the members of JEDO can see what those items are and then provide a blank. That way people could see a rolling conversation of, hey, this is the item that I would like to see.
Okay. Well, I'm not opposed to that, but looking at our counselor, make sure that we don't run afoul of any open meetings regulations and any open meetings rules.
Just to set an agenda.
That would be my concern. We've put a lot of effort in over the years to fight criticism of lack of transparency. I know that we all are committed to transparency. So as much as you can accomplish on selecting the topic so the public knows what to expect, that's what I would recommend.
All right. So, out of our 6 topics, is there a pleasure as to a topic that you would like to see done?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, as Councilwoman Nager said, you know, right now we're doing a lot with housing at the city, and I think that would dovetail rather nicely. So infill housing, I think, would be a topic I'd like to see maybe at the next one.
And would you be open to adding in commercial as well, and commercial infill?
Absolutely. If they can accommodate both of those at the same.
Can I clarify one thing? Would
Yes.
that be just about infill housing, or do we want to talk about housing in general? And then point number 2, you're not expecting us to build on the data that's presented to you. You're expecting us to revert back to you with some potential strategies? Or, and that's for everybody. I was just looking at you because you were the last person who spoke.
Councilmember Emerson?
Yes. So if you watched, and you probably didn't, but if you watched our meeting last night, we had a gentleman come and present about housing, and over the next, actually they had about a 4-hour meeting today, I believe. They're going to be coming up with like 3 to 5 strategies for us in the coming months. And so I guess maybe as we get those, maybe that would help. But as Councilwoman Nager said, infill housing was one of the areas that we desperately need in the city.
So for timing, could we wait until that final report so that we're not trying to do work that they may already be doing and then respond to that report, or?
Does that work for you?
Okay.
When are they? Because I'll tell you, housing, and we've had a meeting, we've met some buildings. Housing is what's keeping us up at night. So we have the jobs, we have thousands of people that want to come here. Now we're missing something, and that's where they're going to live, affordable, and I mean at all levels. And I would say infill housing and housing, just addition of housing. I mean, housing is, we're stressed about housing. It's a great problem to have.
Mayor,
And I think that thank you, Chair. I think that one of the things that you'll see that they discussed last night is not only moderate income housing, but they were talking about apartments, nice apartments, which is what the people that we're attracting are looking for. So I think that maybe if we can make sure that everybody receives that same report, and then.
Do you know the time frame for your, the report or recommendations to council?
It's April, April or May, and so maybe that would advance one.
Commissioner Mays?
I don't know who this would be directed at, but would it be possible to have them, the company, when they come to do their presentation, just maybe do 2 presentations? One to council, one to JEDO, and stay an extra night? I mean, it seems like rather than reinvent the wheel by having them do, because honestly, it's not really in your wheelhouse, is it? To do real estate, or residential real estate. I mean, it might be easier to just try and get the consultant to come back a second time.
Councilmember Hiller?
I don't want us to overpromise in that last night when they talked about the various things that could be done, there were members of our group that said, well, I'll paraphrase slightly, those sound kind of boilerplate, exactly what do you have in mind for us? And I introduced the issue of infill because it's such a priority and it was not yet on their list. So I'm not sure exactly what they'll come up with. Again, if what your idea was not necessarily that when this discussion occurred, we'd walk out with a solution, although that would be nice, but just to explore. I mean, to me, one of the things that I thought would be worth talking about was when we did the Choose Topeka, I got the staff to add, rather than just to purchase or rent a property, to add purchase, rehab, or rent, just to introduce the term rehab as something that they might want to look at one of our older neighborhoods rather than just something new. And so, the idea of being able to pair the successor to Choose Topeka, the next round, to be some cash that would encourage people to buy in our older neighborhoods seemed like a possibility. I'm not familiar with models. I just know that it pairs a couple of things we wanted to do. And it would be an opportunity not just for the people that are coming to companies that offer relocation incentives, but just all sorts of people.
And again, where this comes out of is we look at Go Topeka and everything that Go Topeka is involved in. It would be impossible to do an in-depth discussion on a quarterly basis of everything that Go Topeka does. And so I thought for the benefit, if we are able to focus in on a topic and then allow the Go Topeka staff to be able to talk about what they're doing or what they could be doing or what they would like to be doing. And then that way we can, again, have those. But Councilwoman Valvadina Alcala.
Thank you. Mayor, when you talked about giving them a copy of the report, are we No, but are we talking about the one that they presented, or are we talking about also adding the 44-page one that really gives a down low on what the housing situation looks like? Okay.
But then there's one pending.
And that would be the full report. So
Yes.
There. Yes.
Yes, it's very eye-opening.
And Freddie's actually done a preliminary housing study for us. Like I said, you guys are in our wheelhouse in a big way, that it's what we're stressing about. I mean, we're worried about it. So even if we were able just to have discussion and not have every solution, I think, and right now with the city being parallel to our worries, and I heard the I word last night, we may have to incentivize redevelopment, we may have to incentivize building. When Councilman Emerson, Molly, and I met with some builders, there are a certain level of houses that if they're not, I think it's at 270,000 or higher, if they're not 270 or higher, they're not making money, they're losing money. And then there's the 2008 and 2009 recession. We need more houses right now than they're willing to build because there's risk involved if there's another recession, and there's just a lot of things at play. And again, we have what we always wanted. We have jobs and we have people that want to move here, and we're missing a piece. And so we would love to have that conversation from a strategic standpoint.
All right, so taking a poll of the people, all members of JEDO, if we can work with the planning consultants for the city of Topeka and the JEDO and have then on our May agenda a discussion of housing, infill, and then having how that correlates with Go Topeka in their economic development, would that be acceptable to the board?
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion? That is a motion made by the chair. Second made by Councilmember Emerson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. I'll do this by a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. That then brings us to our next item.
Item 7, public comment.
There's one member of the public that's signed up to speak, and that's Carol Marple. Carol, the podium is yours.
Well, thank you very much, but I think I'll decline.
Thank you very much. And with that, our last is a reminder of our upcoming JEDO meetings. Wednesday, May the 13th, September the 9th, and December the 9th, unless there's a need for a special JEDO meeting due to incentives or other items. And with that, we are at the end of the meeting. Seeing no other items, we are adjourned.